Hello everyone, it's Victoria Lorien Fabish with the incomparable Gail Scott. Actually, sit up just a tiny bit, cutie. There you go. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm a holistic psychotherapist, registered psychotherapist, and welcome to Courageous Conversations. And I'm just going to do a little bit of sharing. So as you join us, please say hi and please share, because of course this is going to be a huge one because Gail is awesome. Gail has a lot to impart to a lot of us. I've known Gail a lot of years, and she's just a remarkable human being on so many levels. And I have to say, the truth of the matter is that when I think about courage, Gail, and courageous conversations, when I think about those things, I think about you.
Aww.
You're a very courageous individual. You're a very, not only are you courageous, but you're filled with integrity.
Thank you.
And you are filled with a sense of passion, which I adore about you. And I've had you on different shows that I've done. So this is a beautiful thing. So we're going to start with me just sharing. So sorry for the being tiny bit distracted here as I'm doing a little bit of sharing, but I want everyone, I'm putting it on my group, which I want you to join, which is Courageous Conversation, and on my page, Courageous Conversations. So this is an opportunity to really dig into some courageous talk, about, well, life's tough times, life's good times, but also the transformation that you've been able to, experience. And I really, really appreciate you. So tell us a little bit, just as we're beginning, and I'm still doing a little bit of sharing, where you're at in terms of your life currently. So we'll go forward and then, present and then backwards. How are you doing today?
Sure. Oh, well, my life has never been better.
Well, I love hearing that.
It's literally never been better.
I love hearing that. That's such a cool thing.
Every day is a new day where I get to create my life.
Isn't that nice?
And I get to create it consciously.
Yes.
I get to decide what I want, what I don't want, what I want to do. I'm very intuitive, so I always kind of tap into my guides every morning. I say, what do you want me to do today? And I follow that. And
It's awesome.
I just try to really be present with what brings me joy every day.
Right.
And sometimes it's, working for 5 hours solid. Sometimes it's walking in my garden.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's calling someone to talk about an issue. Or sometimes it's coaching a client.
Right.
Sometimes it's writing my newsletter. Sometimes it's just meditating.
Yeah.
But all of those things kind of encompass my day.
Yeah.
And it's just relaxing.
And funnily enough, I was talking with another very, very cool woman, Sherry. She was on last week, and she talks about that. It's not about doing the same thing every day. It's very much using your intuition to see where your soul wants you and needs you to go.
That is so accurate. Mm-hmm. That's so accurate. To me, I used to call myself the Gail Force. Well, somebody called me that. The Gail Force. And I really struggled with, I want to be the Gail Flow. I don't want to be the Gail Force. And what I come to understand about that is this kind of
That's a good point.
dichotomy between the masculine and the feminine in me. And I need the Gail Force because I need to get stuff done.
Yes.
And be focused and direct and like on the move.
Yes.
And then I need the Gail Flow because I need that recharge.
Yeah.
I need that downtime. I need that meditative space that kind of brings me back to me.
So it's force and flow.
It's force and flow.
Which is not bad.
It's great.
It's both together integrated.
It is, yeah. Which is the integration of the masculine and
the feminine, very specifically, the force and the flow, the receiving and the giving. What's exciting, I mean, Gail and I have known each other a long time, and you actually did the speech at my first book launch for Find Yourself Culture, so a very precious person in my life. And also, you're very open, you're an open book.
I'm an open book.
And that's just courageous. It's so courageous. And you were saying earlier something about you didn't know that you were courageous.
Yeah, so when I started this work in 2000...
Hi, Leanne, welcome.
When I started this work in 2005, I had no idea where I was going. I just knew I didn't like where I was. And I just knew that there had to be something better than what I was living. Not that my life wasn't actually, to all intents and purposes, looked great. but it wasn't great. It wasn't feel good great that I think that we all really deserve to feel good great. And so from there, I just kind of went into my mode of, I need to do me. I'd been so codependent, I didn't know how to do me at all. So that was really the beginning. And I was explaining with Victoria that journey was one of momentum. I just got up in the morning and I did the next thing, and I did the next thing, and I did the next thing. And I didn't even think about that it might be courageous, and that word didn't even come into my vocabulary. Brave, none of those words. It wasn't until later on when I started telling people some of the things that I'd gone through, some of the experiences that I'd had, that people said to me, "Oh, you're so courageous." Yeah. And I couldn't even really connect to that word until recently, in the past couple years. I had what I would consider some fairly serious, courageous conversations. And I was terrified. I could feel it in my body. I didn't want to do the conversation, but I knew that I had to have the conversation. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, this is called courage. This is where you know that you have to do something. You're scared to do it, but you just can't not do it. Wow. And that,
because if you don't do it,
well, you're back where you started.
Right.
You'll never, nothing will ever shift if you don't move forward with it. And it doesn't always work out the way you want it to.
I was going to say, when people are considering doing their courageous conversations with themselves or others, well, with themselves it's always going to work out. But with others, it's a bit of a crapshoot. Yeah, it's like
you just never know where it's going to go.
But what I want to say, and what do you think about this, is that no matter what, you can have all the courageous conversations with other people, but really it's not what they're doing that matters. It's how are you doing within yourself that matters, and how grounded are you within yourself. And I think it doesn't matter what happens necessarily.
I think that's one of the biggest things I've discovered, is that people are who they are.
Yeah.
They do what they do. Everybody does everything for their own best interests, and we are included in that. And we need to acknowledge when things are not working for us, what's going on with us. And that's where I had to look at, okay, what's my part in this experience? Where am I out of alignment? Why am I not happy? What's going on with me? Yeah. What's showing up for me that might be a pattern or a behavior that is bothering me? And really diving into who am I? Who do I want to be with this person, with myself, with my children? Who do I say that I am? Yeah. Basically. And that takes a lot of introspection, which is that courageous conversation with yourself. And I really think it's good to have people to help you. I would not be where I am today if it weren't for many, many people who have helped me on the journey, Victoria included. And every single one of those people has given me a different gift, a different insight, a different awakening to a part of me that I just couldn't see, didn't know, had to deal with, whatever, heal from. Like, we don't know. That's why we're here on earth, in my opinion, and my belief, is to learn and grow. And without difficult experiences and courageous conversations, we will stagnate. We will just stay the same. Which is fine. If you want to stay the same and everything's great, that's fine. But we're on a trajectory right now on this planet to bring more hope and love. And the only way you can do that is to kind of shift things around.
That's right.
And it always gets a little messy when you do that.
Now, profound words that you're speaking. And one of the things that I want to share with people is one of your focuses is this. One of the big focuses for you right now is looking at the relationship between father and daughter, which in your view, and I believe you're right, impacts every aspect of a woman's life. And your particular journey with your father was a traumatic one, very traumatic one. And so, you've said you're an open book, so I just want to talk a little bit about that because that's huge. And anyone out there, this is, by the way, what we're going to talk about can be a little bit triggering possibly, and I want you to know that. And so I just want to give you a little bit of a forewarning, that not a warning, but just a hello, this is going to be a little bit triggering. So as I move forward, Gail, you talk about the fact that you suffered, the sexual abuse by your father.
Mm-hmm. And that experience was something that I had no recollection of.
For a long time.
Many, like decades. Yeah. I mean, it really is only 7 years since I discovered that information.
That's pretty incredible.
That's not a long time.
Yeah.
And
it sort of came to you, right?
It came to me in a vision one morning, and what was interesting was that it made complete sense for who I had been being and how I had been being in my intimate relationships. And
what were some of the impacts? What were the things that you were in your intimate relationships at the time? Because you were also in your marriage breakup.
Oh, I was totally disconnected from my body. Like completely disconnected from my body. I was, disassociated in that I wasn't present with the person that I was with. I thought I was present. Well, I thought I was present until I knew what being present really meant.
Yeah, actually felt present.
I kind of know how to do that now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was basically going through the motions. I had a lot of difficulty having my own pleasure. And there was a lot of pleasing and a lot of doing for them and a lot of just going with what they wanted and a lot of no understanding that I could ask for what I wanted, or I could say no, or I could do it differently.
Wow.
And, I think as women, many times, and I see this from, years and centuries actually, where we just allow men to kind of, in their masculine, run with the flow. And that's good in a healthy relationship, the ebb and flow of it. But when you're in a dysfunctional relationship, it's a very disempowering place to be.
Oh, yeah.
And if I did not have any empowerment of myself at that time, like all the years that I was married, all the years I was dating, I had no idea of some of the impact that the relationship I had with my father had on me. And this is kind of the work I'm doing right now in researching all of this and seeing, well, what's the impact in my behavior, in my thoughts, in how I manage my relationships, especially with a man. And then teaching my daughters what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. How do you speak up as a woman? How do you have your needs met? How do you say, and teaching my clients now as well, well, what do you really want? You don't have to do that. What do you want? How would you like it to be? And building that experience. So it's a co-creative experience.
And it's a dialogue.
Well, that's one of the biggest things. I used to go out with men, and I would sit down in a restaurant and I would open up the conversation about sex in a restaurant. Because it's
outside of the bedroom.
Completely outside of the bedroom. The bedroom is not the place to have the conversation about sex.
That's right.
The place to have it is in a neutral place where you can just sit and just be two adults and ask, well, what works for you? What doesn't work for you? What do you like? What do you need? What have you done? What do you want more of? Those kinds of questions, we don't get taught how to ask those questions or how to really create what we want.
Yeah, it's not like your mother is saying, "Oh, this is what you should be telling and asking."
Exactly.
So if that, and your kids are getting that from you, and how
in so many
wonderful
different
is that?
ways. I mean, I believe that I have completely changed the trajectory of my children's future. I know that.
I know that too.
I know that 150%. If I had not done the work I've done, my children would be in a very different place, and not a good place either. And
they're doing well today.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
How old are your kids?
They're 20 and 23.
Wow, this little thing.
I know.
This little thing has 20 and 23-year-olds.
I know, you can't believe it. But they're grounded, and they're successful, and they're happy, and they're both in relationships, and they're asking for what they need and want, and they have they have their own relationship with their father, and my relationship with my father, now that I'm really intensely looking at what that really looked like and comparing it to what the relationship with a healthy father actually should be and what it should give you as a woman to set you out into the world, those two for me, diametrically opposed.
Wow.
Like every single item on this list that I've written, which has got like 40 items, 40 or 50 items. No, we didn't do that. No, I didn't have that.
When you analyze healthy,
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm analyzing the difference between what he should have done as a healthy parent. It's not even a father. It's a parent.
Right. Give us a couple so we can, because you obviously work with coaching and parenting as well.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't praise, support, encourage, acknowledge, affirm, be present, appreciate all of these things about your children and allow them to be their own human beings. Yes. They are their own creators all by themselves. Sometimes we think as parents, certainly from my old point of view, was that, well, I know best because I'm the parent. Well, that's bullshit. Yeah. You don't know best.
Total bullshit.
You don't know best for your daughter or your son. You know what you know. And many times there's been things I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I was being a certain way, and that's because that's how I grew up, and that's how I thought it was supposed to be. And sometimes I would just ask my kids instead, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think's an appropriate
empowering their mind, their sense of who am I in this moment?
Yeah. And even the conversation of, so you want to go and do that. Okay, I hear you want to go and do that, especially with teenagers, right? They really want to push the boat out. And having a conversation along the lines of, well, I can't really get on board with you with that. So if you can get me on board with you with this idea, then maybe we can move forward. And here's a couple of things let's think about this. Have you thought about what might happen when you get to this place? Have you thought what might happen when this happens? Or have you thought about what do you want? You know, especially when it comes to sex and alcohol and drugs and all these kinds of things, and getting yourself out of a situation where you don't feel good, but you know, there's peer pressure.
Yeah.
How do you teach your teenagers especially to trust themselves? And I really have noticed that as parents, we do not turn the mirror back and look at ourselves. I believe,
explain that just a little
more. So for me, my belief is that kids that are on the rocks or having difficulties are a direct result of the parenting. It's a direct result because they're programmed. When they're born, they have no beliefs. They have no worldview. They have no, nurturing at that point. And we as parents, we bring them up to the best of our ability the way we know.
This is not about a blame fest.
No, not at all. Because
parenting is a really hard job.
Listen, I'm the first to say I messed up, right?
But you also came.
Well, that's the other thing is, if you as a parent or in a partnership or whatever, are you willing to admit that you messed up? You made a mistake. You said the wrong thing. You did something you regret.
I love that.
I love that. It's ownership.
Ownership, but it's such a trust creation with your kids.
It is.
You really, when you own that you're not perfect, that you made a mistake, you create such a beautiful trust bond with your children.
Yeah.
And you've done that, obviously. You've really, really done that.
And that's where in my family, there was no trust. There was a lot of betrayal. There was a lot of
family of origin, the family culture.
Like a lot of, you're on your own. There was a lot of putting down, a lot of, your voice doesn't matter. I mean, I had a lot of problems, which is weird. I'm a professional speaker, but I had a lot of problems with my voice.
Yeah.
I wasn't self-expressed. And the way that I was expressed was completely inappropriate. And it wasn't until, I began to understand that people would say to me, why are you speaking like that? And then I, hear your mother's voice coming out your mouth, that kind of a thing. And really realizing, and the whole dynamic with my father in my family of origin, my mother was the patriarch, basically, or the matriarch. And my father was very quiet. But that in itself is not good either.
Yeah.
Because there was no modeling of what was an appropriate male persona for me going out into the world, looking at dating and being with men and looking for a partner.
And there was addiction too, right?
Oh, there was a lot of addiction in my family. And so that has its own kind of nest to stay in, and it has a huge impact on children and all through the years. It doesn't matter what age you are.
What do you think is, you came out of this abusive situation that lasted for a long time, and you were in a marriage, and then that marriage broke apart because of your need. What would you say the number one thing, that you don't have to go on and on about it, but the important thing for you about leaving that marriage was why?
I wasn't emotionally connected.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually said to my husband 3 times over the course of 2 years, if you do not come into this relationship with me emotionally, I will not stay in this marriage. I don't know that he believed me until I actually did it, but I knew that this was not a marriage. This was not a happy, couple situation, that there had to be more that was fulfilling and rich and deep and satisfying. And I also did not want to model that to my children.
Right.
Like 2 growing beautiful daughters, and they see that this kind of flatmate situation, I guess you'd call it, going through the motions. I was a very full-time mom, and my husband was very busy building his business. But there was no us. There was no him and I. And there was no real family to speak of that was healthy. We would go on vacation once a year, but it was there was no co-creation of the relationship. And that was exhausting. Especially when I realized I could get more than this.
Right.
And that's the difficult thing, ending relationships for me has been quite traumatic.
Very
because
difficult.
The father-daughter relationship has me in a space where I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make this relationship work.
Yeah.
And then eventually realizing that I can't be me in this relationship because the person that I'm with has gone as far as they can go.
Yeah. And also you can't really make people do what they're not able to do.
Right.
People are doing what they're doing.
Yeah, they are.
People are doing what they're doing.
And many times actually in relationships with men, I would have to say to them, I love you. However, everything that we have is not enough for me. And you deserve someone who loves you the way you are.
Oh,
and that's not me. And that's an accepting.
And he's gone on to find these other things, and
I mean, that's an accepting of the other person. And not everyone is on this courageous journey that I'm on to the degree that I'm on.
Yeah.
I don't actually know anyone else who's on it to the degree I'm on.
But you're pretty devoted, and I think you're inspiring people.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted you on here. You're inspiring people that are going to understand that you can be as courageous as Gail. Because, a lot of people are coming from abusive situations in their families of origin, in their family culture. And as they're finding their freedom, as they're finding their self-culture, they need to be doing this courageous conversation with self and others.
And it also doesn't mean that your relationship has to end.
Right. There's some transformation that can occur within the relationship.
There is, and I've come to understand that sometimes there are deal breakers.
Yeah. That
in order, as an evolved, I consider myself an evolved person. As an evolved person, I want more. And
when you say more in a relationship, you mean?
Yeah, I want more in a relationship.
You want more connection.
I want some more support.
Mutuality.
Yeah, exactly. I want all of that. And I want us to be on this, like playing on the same playing field.
Yeah.
If you're playing on that playing field and I'm playing on this playing field and we just kind of meet at the goalposts once in a while, that for me,
not so interesting.
Not make a relationship, right? You really want to have, I really want to have a relationship where we're hand in hand walking along the same road, and we could be looking in different stores, but then we come back together.
Right.
And we're always kind of moving in the same direction to the same place and somewhat at the same pace.
Right.
If occasionally there's going to be, he's going to be more ahead of me in one area and I'm going to be more ahead of him in another area.
That's okay.
But neither of us are stuck.
Right.
That if we're stuck, we dig in, we figure it out, we stay together, we say, no, this is worth keeping, and we move forward. And I think that's really important in a
So
relationship.
powerful,
The dual commitment to the process.
Right, the dual commitment to the process.
A dual commitment, yes.
Now let me ask you to tell everyone about what you're kind of working on in terms of your Find the Soulmate.
Right.
I love that project.
Yeah. So I have an offering out right now, which is a 90-minute session. I work with people through 11 different areas of relationship.
Fantastic.
Where you get to really become clear on where you've been, what you want, why it didn't work, what happened, what are they going to look like, how's it going to be, what do you need to have happen, what's the deal breakers. Like, there's all these areas I take people through, and you get a report at the end of that session that will show you where the holes are, basically. And that's where, you know, if you want to do extra work on that, that's great. But otherwise, you've got the picture. So I'm really about helping people be guided in a way that is very clear, because my coaching is so strategic. You know, this is not some wishy-washy kind of thing. Like, you want real goals.
Right on.
You want to be detailed. You want to know where you're going and how you're going to get there and how it's going to happen. Now, that's completely different from the intuitive work that I do, where I'll bring someone in and I'll just do a 1-hour intuitive session, and they bring in 5 or 6 of their biggest, you know, most important questions in their life, and I have guides that I work with, and they will tell me, and they're also very strategic and very detail oriented. Clients don't always like what they say, but you know, I'm only the messenger, and
you're just channeling the information.
I am, and most people say, you know, I already knew that. So, you know, my business is really based on trust. Because I realized in my life that there was so much trust and betrayal. And actually,
or lack of trust.
Or lack of trust and so much betrayal. And that I realized as I went through a chart looking at my whole life that I had actually trusted myself all the way through in many of the decisions that I made. I mean, when I asked my husband to end my marriage, I had no job, no career, no income, like no awareness of what it was going to look like, you know. And if someone had asked me, you know, 13 years ago, Gail, you're going to go through all this journey, I would have said, no, I'm going under a table because I don't want to do any of that. But we don't know what's coming, and I think that's a blessing, actually. And so I help people figure out what's possible for them.
That's right.
And then the audiences that I speak to, I bring a lot of my stories. I teach emotional intelligence because that's what I didn't get in my family. And because everybody, I mean, 95% of people come from dysfunctional families. If you don't have the languaging to have a courageous conversation, you are going to mess it up. And it takes emotional intelligence to be able to have a conversation, and you have to be willing to change the words you use. My daughter just said to me the other day, but Mom, that's not how I speak. And I said, well, I get that, but if you're looking for a specific outcome, you really have to change the way that you speak. And what that does is it completely changes the conversation you're having with someone, because when you come from a place of love and hope and possibility, admittance that, you know, you're not perfect, you don't know what you're doing, and you really want to co-create something with them, you open up the energy of that experience to a completely different frame compared to, I'm annoyed with you, you did this, why is it not like that, how can we do blah, blah, blah. It's a very different way of talking. And that's where
you need emotional discipline. You need emotional discipline in your speech, in also how not to project onto the other person. And the only way to really get to the other side of a conflict is to understand that you're either contributing to the mess or the cleanup, and you want to really admit if you're contributing. We just reconnected. That's great. Okay, so we're going to start our wrap up. But what I wanted to tell people, firstly, what's your website so people know?
Right. So my website is Bosie International, BOSIE International.com. So Bosie is the Scottish word for cuddle.
Oh, okay, great.
And I'm really big into
you're
hugs.
A Bosie.
I'm a Bosie.
And
so that's why I named it Bosie International.
Okay, great.
It's really precious to me. And I'm also on Facebook, I'm also on Twitter, I'm also on Instagram and Pinterest.
As Bosie.
As Bosie, Bosie International. And I post pretty much every other day. I have a topic for each month.
Right.
And you'll see as you go through my feed,
Yeah.
you'll see what the topics have been over the past 3 months.
Okay,
this
great.
month is spirituality. Next month is family dynamics.
Nice.
And so until the end of the year, I have a topic. And then I do 2 writings a month. One is kind of a short introduction to the topic, and the second one is a deeper dive. So it's a longer article about the topic.
And if people want to get in touch with you, they go to BoseyInternational.com.
They go to BoseyInternational.com, or they can call me on my cell phone, 416-358-1457. You can send me an email, Gail at BoseyInternational.com. And
you're working on some
I'm
written
working
material.
on lots of different things right now. I
okay.
have so many different areas that I'm working at.
Okay,
I'm looking at creating some open events in the fall for people to come and just really begin to understand how life can be different depending on what area it is you want to look at. Because like I said, I'm an open book.
That's right.
I'm a minefield of information, and I really have a lot to share for people. And
you've been through a lot.
Yes.
So you can actually empathize, and really, there's nothing that Gail won't talk about, coach on, or work with.
I think the real difference is that because I walk the talk, I don't actually take anybody through anything I haven't done myself.
Beautiful.
So everything that you're learning from me is coming from my own personal success.
That's right.
From the experience that I've gone through.
You've been there.
Done it, and I'm still doing it.
You're still doing it.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for being here on Courageous Conversations. We could go on and on and on and have more courageous conversations, and we probably will, Gail. But I just want everyone to A, share this video, and B, join my group, Courageous Conversations, like my page, Courageous Conversations, and visit my website, visualizationworks.com. Check out BoseyInternational.com, and please be brave and kind to yourself and self-loving, because it is that is going to get you the joy that you are seeking in life.
And if you're not, get the help that you need.
That's right.
Because that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, exactly. Yeah. And have a brilliant day, and be kind to yourself and someone else. Have a courageous conversation.
Thank
All right.
you.
See you tomorrow for another episode of Courageous Conversations. Have a great one. Bye.